Writing Through the Brick Wall. Lesson 4. Understanding your audience. Let's talk audience. For thousands of years, people have been asking the question, who am I? That's some deep philosophical shit. And it leads to the bigger question, what is the point of life? We're not going to get into that swamp. Or maybe we will. But for now, our question is, who is your audience? That's our bone to chew. As a performance art, writing is done for an audience. It's important for your success to understand as much as possible about that audience. If I were to ask you what you would wear to what Lou Reed called all tomorrow's parties, I'm pretty sure you would ask, what type of parties are they going to be? You ask about the parties so that your clothing choices can match the expectations of your audience. You wouldn't wear the same thing to a Halloween party that you would to a wedding event. Know the occasion, and in this case, you can figure out your audience's expectations. The same principle applies to writing, except you won't be making clothing choices. You'll be choosing the proper topic, theme, format, and the words that you're going to use to match your audience's expectations. For example, if you were writing a science paper to a general audience, you would probably have to take the time to explain the terminology that you're using because they don't understand it. But if you used that same paper to a group of your peers, they might be bored or even insulted that you took the time to explain that to them. Your doctor doesn't talk to you with the same language and terminology that she does to another doctor or a nurse. Why do you think that is? The answer lies in your purpose. In order to achieve your purpose, you need to use language that's appropriate to your audience so that you don't lose them. And you need to tailor your message to that audience so that it appeals to them. And you must always keep in mind what it is that you want your audience to do or think by the end of your paper so that you achieve that purpose. It's tricky. There's questions of your audience's level of knowledge in the topic. There's questions of vocabulary and language, and there's even cultural questions at play. You may think that you're getting your message across perfectly clearly, and yet half the audience is getting the completely opposite message from you. Take this clever little love note, for example. You're so money, baby. I'm saying you're so money, baby, but it's literally written as a $, which means that's got to be a zero behind it. When you think about it, that's kind of insulting. And you need to think about it because you need to keep your audience focused on what it is that you intended for them to understand. In our day and age, your audience is generally short on time, hostile, and distracted. Why are they short on time? Because they have so many other things that they think are more important to do. And you're in their way. Now, all those other things are pulling them in all these directions, and you want their attention? That makes them hostile. And distracted? How many of you are receiving messages and text while you're listening to this video? How many of you have people talking to you while you're clearly occupied with something else? Short on time, hostile, and distracted. You can see the importance of a solid introduction to pull the audience away from those edgy attitudes. And you're going to need very well-crafted body paragraphs to keep them out of their world and in yours. And then you need that solid conclusion so that you achieve your purpose and they think the way you want them to think or act the way you want them to act. Another general truth about audiences is that they're energy vampires. Whether you're writing or speaking, an audience becomes a passive receptacle for your message. Like the audience in a movie theater. They want to be swept away. Your job is to keep providing energy into them so that they're resuscitated every moment. And you keep bringing them back to life and bringing them back to life so that they go from your introduction through all of that body explanation and stick with you alive and alert until your conclusion, which is where you tell them what you want them to do or how you want them to think. In school, your audience is your teachers and your professors. They too are short on time, a little bit hostile, and they're distracted. They're also energy vampires. They thrive off of the energy coming off of your paper. Think on that. Rule your environment. A writing teacher will inevitably have some kind of writing assessment tool or writing rubric in order to judge the different components of your writing and come up with a grade for your paper. I always provided my writing rubrics up front, but sometimes you'll have to ask for one, and sometimes you won't get one. You can't always get what you want. But not to worry. We'll go over the basics of what's expected in the components of a solid paper. When you understand the underpinnings behind the grade, then you'll have a better chance of achieving the grade that you're looking for. To sum up this section, we've tied your purpose to the importance of understanding your audience. In advertising, they call that maximizing the customer's experience. As a writer, you create content. You're a content creator. You want to maximize your reader's experience in order for them to gain the most they can out of your writing. The power and influence that come from quality writing and exceptional thinking are part of your short-term goal, but they're also part of your long game. Think on that. Rule your environment. Do the work. See you next class. Supplemental sources mentioned in this class. Bobby McFerrin, Watch Me Play, The Audience, TED Talks. Yeah, I forgot to actually mention this during the lecture, but so what? It's pure magic, and it shows how a connected audience is willing to learn as fast or faster than you are teaching. Lesson 4, Quiz. Question 1. Why is it important to know your audience? Without an audience, you're Hamlet performing a soliloquy for himself, or Helena demonstrating some of the most profound thinking in human history with nobody listening, except of course the actual theater audience. Keeping your audience's attention requires that you understand their expectations of you and your writing. Your professor is your primary audience, though for all writers, the writer herself is the actual primary audience. Your professor's expectations can be found within the writing prompt and the writing rubric by which your writing will be assessed. Your professor won't walk out on your essay like a theater audience, but you need a passing grade, so you have to meet those expectations. Writing for professors in different courses like, say, science and math, will come with various expectations, as will writing group emails or speaking to an audience. Each audience brings his or her or their own level of knowledge in the subject you're discussing, and you need to challenge their intellects without losing them with complexities. Audiences come with various vocabulary and grammar usages as well. I've always been enchanted by students from the Caribbean who code switch from standard American English while speaking with me to an island patois of English in a comment to their companion, an English nearly unintelligible to me, probably the point of the switch, but nonetheless beautiful to hear, and then come right back at me with an American accent and standard edited grammar and syntax. Those students demonstrate astounding fluidity. That's meeting audience expectations in a flash. Racial, gender, regional, and cultural factors among a galaxy of others also come into play. Many of those carry emotional triggers, which can turn your well-intentional work into flaming rubble in the time between heartbeats. Do your research on your audience. Ultimately, your skill at merging your message seamlessly with your reader's heart and mind, without glitches and expectations, will help determine whether you pass a class or persuade a group to act on your behalf. Both results constitute your achieving your purpose. Good on you. Question 2. Explain the concept of your audience being short on time. Life is short, and people in general have no time or patience. What they have is a long list of things they want to do over their lives, a long list of things to do this week, and a bunch of to-dos in the next few moments coming at them like a flashing, howling ambulance. You, probably a stranger to them, or at least another strange student. Nah, another unique and marvelous student. You are trying to shoulder your way to the front of all those to-do lists, get their attention, keep their attention, and change them somehow with cunning thought and language. At first, you have no time to accomplish this as far as your audience is concerned. But with your hook and intro, you might have bought a few seconds of their attention. The body paragraphs have to carry the dual load of developing your ideas while challenging readers in intriguing ways. If you can get them to forget about time, you've performed an act of bewitchment, taking them out of their reality and into yours. Once you hammer home the conclusion, you've not only made time irrelevant for those busy people during your essay, but you've changed them in essential ways that they will carry with them going forward into that hectic, high-speed flash that is their lives. Take a bow. You've begun to dig the interdimensionality of powerful writing. Deep breaths. Close those eyes and meditate a moment on your greatness. There is and will only ever be one of you. One, the number that broke nothingness into somethingness. Question 3. Why is your audience distracted and hostile? The world was once a small place called a neighborhood, where news arrived in the afternoon paper, and you spoke with your neighbors and friends by a telephone wired to the wall and got your busy signals a lot. The phone received no texts and could send no pictures. If you wanted to text, you wrote it on a paper, put it in an envelope with a stamp, and mailed it. A few days later, the text would arrive. A few days after that, you would receive an answer. These days, all of that happens in the window in your hand, along with dozens of social media sites and pop-up ads. You might even be playing a video game while texting. It is the entire world coming at you through a poker card-sized device that you hold onto so long your hand sometimes cramps up a little. And it doesn't stop when you're in class unless you turn off your phone. And who does that, right? So, distracted? Duh. The global population is nearly 8 billion people, and they all want your attention now. And commercial and political ads come at you like life and death issues. It's freaking overwhelming. What to look at, which link to open, which site can you trust? Sweet Jesus, save me. Can you imagine Jesus with a cell phone? Oh wait, Buddha sitting under the Bodhi tree with a cell in his lap going out of its technological mind trying to get his attention. Ha! Immovable object versus irresistible force right there, buddy. So how distracted is your audience? How distracted are you? Hella. Just hella. And knowing you have limited time on this earth in this week, today, right now, wears on you like a constant buzzing in the back of your mind where you'd think you're safe from that damn cell phone, but nope, they are not having it. Those are professionals pushing your attention buttons and getting under your skin, making you feel less than in every way unless you buy this lipstick or that car. Damn it all, get out of my head, you needy bastards. Just leave me alone or else what? I don't know, but it's gonna be epic if you piss me off. And there it is, your hostile audience, crushed by time anxiety and pummeled by distractions. Little tiny them against the world, and they ain't gonna take it anymore. But you need to get their attention, mollify their troubled souls, refocus them while meeting their expectations, and guide them with language to that place where your purpose is accomplished. And you know what? You can do this. You can be good enough to pull this off. We're here to get you there. Well, I am here. I don't know where that we came from. Hang in, stay in the moment, be an active learner, visit your professor, do the damn reading and the damn homework, show up to class and to study, join groups, go to the financial aid office. These are not difficult tasks. They only require that you redirect your time and energy little by little. Growth is what you're all about at this stage of your life. Breathe, eat well, sleep deeply, water up, grow. Question 4. Explain audience as energy vampires. You paid your ticket and you're sitting in the theater waiting on the movie to start. The blank white screen is not what you came for. So you talk with whomever you're with or dive into that window in your hand, always in your hand. Your mind needs to be fed. You can't be alone with your thoughts for too long. You need stimuli. And when the lights dim, your head rises almost like a thirsty person feeling rain and soaking it in gladly. Give me those trailers of films to come. Tell me to shut off my phone. Yeah, right. Feed me. Ooh, sudden, complete darkness. The soundtrack kicks in. What a great audio system theaters have, you know? And then images flicker into view and you're suckling at the teat of the great entertainment industry's bosom. Ah, delicious. Well, that's the hunger your audience is always experiencing. And if they have to focus on you or your paper, then that's the hunger. More like blood hunger than milk thirst, really. That's the hunger you face. Feed them. They live in a culture where they've been convinced that what is out there is more important than what's within them. And they've bought into that lifestyle 150%, which is really bad math, by the way. The energy vampires will let you nourish them, but their need is so great that if you lapse, if you stray and lose them, they will be on to the next source of food and your purpose risks being unfulfilled. These are not vampires you use a stake on. These vampires are your audience. They have something you need, and you must keep them feeding on your words and ideas until you've got your purpose in hand. Not your average vampire movie, but realer than Twilight by exponential degrees. Question 5. How is a writing rubric part of your audience? This lesson has been on the importance of understanding your audience in life, but particularly in writing. As a performance artist, you must be your primary audience, and your only reasonable expectation of yourself is to try to improve your performance. But as a student, your most important audience is your professor. He holds the key to your grade and your passing the course. His expectations for a writing assignment begin with the actual assignment, whether that is spoken aloud in class or handed out on paper or posted on your class website. With a solid understanding of the assignment, which should always include your asking at least a few questions for clarity, you can begin the whole pre-writing process. And once you have a finished rough draft, you're going to need to look at the writing rubric to do your editing, revision, and proofreading. When you edit, you look at the logic of your paper. Is your thesis worthy? Do your body paragraphs expand and develop your thesis? Does the conclusion wrap things up nicely? As well as the evidence and vocabulary you've used. These considerations will be graded as the structure and content of your paper. All the categories of scoring will overlap somewhat. Once you have the structure and content settled, then and only then should you begin proofreading. This process looks for misspellings, poor sentence structure, punctuation, etc. Those fall under the rules of standard edit American English, unless otherwise specified by your professor. Finally, with your paper's structure, content, and mechanics in place, you can address how things will look when you submit it. That is formatting. Whether you're required to use MLA, APA, Chicago style, or whatever, formatting is both tricky and easy. Things need to be presented correctly. Some great sources for you to use are your school's writing lab, your writing professor, or the Purdue University website called Purdue OWL. Don't ask. Once you grasp the proper look of the paper, citations, by the way, are always the most difficult part, you're in good shape. Old MacDonald had a farm, E-I-E-I-O, and on this farm he had a chicken. God, I wish things were that easy, but they aren't. Meeting your audience's expectations is a whole lot easier if your audience lets you know his expectations up front. That's how the rubric is a written part of your audience. So instead of being told to write a 4,000-word paper on geopolitics, you have a prompt and a rubric that breaks down expectations into smaller units so that you can address them one at a time. It is not unlike in those old Bruce Lee films where Lee would face off with 30 opponents, but they would inexplicably come at him one at a time while the others hovered around threateningly. He kicked their asses one ass at a time. You kicked your assignment's ass one piece at a time. Then stand over your conquest and thumb your nose down at it. You did it. You will get a passing grade. Here's your extra credit question. Do you have to overcome production and technology glitches in your college courses? Of course you have to overcome that shit. Some stuff is familiar, while new stuff is always lurking around the corner with its own learning curve. But if I can get even incrementally better at producing these classes, then you, far younger, better looking, smarter, and motivated than this old guy, will have no big problems, right? You know to ask questions and get help. You know where your learning assets wait for you. Go conquer the world. Here's a sample of a writing rubric. We'll break it down further in other classes. See ya.